Welcome to Money Making Sense, the show that talks about all things money. Today, I am joined by certified financial advisor with DMBA, Shane Stewart. Welcome to the show, Shane.
Thank you.
And also, I have a guinea pig today. That's what I like to say. Jason Jensen, just our audience knows we've known each other for quite a few years, but you have agreed to come on and talk about some of the financial issues that are facing you. And I think they're very, very typical of a lot of families, not only in Utah where we're based, but also across the country and even probably across the world.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I mean, I feel like I've kind of found myself in this place. You know, I've grown up and I had advice here and kind of advice there, and I was just living my life, and then all of a sudden I'm like 35 and I'm like, oh, my financial situation is not what I'd like it to be. Yeah.
And you have...
And I hear that from a lot of my friends.
Yeah. And you have 5 kids now that you're supporting?
Yes.
Helping support on a very limited income.
Very limited.
You're a school teacher now, but since I've known you, you've had several different jobs, and some have been a little bit more higher paying. But in recent years, I would say probably in the last 8 years, it's been a struggle. I mean, even more of a struggle than when I first met you.
Primarily, so I graduated from UVU in theatrical arts as a technical student. And so I've spent my professional career doing gigs. I'll go from one place to another, finding wherever the work is. I'm in my 3rd year now at Park City High School, working as the assistant technical director there. And so that's the first time I've actually had a stable, real job with benefits, insurance, 401k, all that kind of stuff. That's the first time I've ever actually had that in my professional life. Since graduating school. And I still have to do a lot of the gig stuff during the summer months. I pick up work wherever I can, working the state fair and stuff like that as a technician, just to be able to make it. Right.
So Shane, what I am hoping that we can discuss is Jason has very generously handed over his monthly income and all of his expenses. And he has some goals. I mean, first of all, he still has to pay off 4 student loans.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of car payments, plus you're, trying to raise the kids and groceries and all of that. Jason, you sent over, and I neglected to ask if this was before or after taxes, but I'm assuming it's after taxes. You bring home every month $2,565 a month, $2,565 a month.
That's after taxes.
That's after right.
That's my regular pay from my school district job.
Right. But
so
I
that's
added
the reliable money.
Right. So I added up all your expenses, and it comes to $2,533.34. That leaves you $32 a month.
Yeah.
To play with. And how much play can you do with $32?
Yeah, especially because I don't think I sent you all of the detailed expense. I mean, there's always an additional expense, right? I mean, we need to pay a little bit more in gas because we had to drive here. Those are my reliable expenses that I know I have to pay every single month. And then there's always the unexpected, which usually is more than $32.
Yeah, shoes for the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Clothing,
school
back to school. Yes, haircut. I mean, you've got a couple of boys too, and especially here in Utah, school systems are not real big on boys having hair below their ears. They'll send them home.
Yeah. So luckily I know how to cut hair. At least I know how to cut boys' hair. So we're able to save a little bit there. But it's actually my daughter's hair and my wife's that. Those ones I can't style. She won't let me touch her hair.
Right.
I've offered to do it. I can get out the buzzers and do that, but she won't let me.
Right.
So, there's all those little just living expenses that come up that you don't really, it's hard to budget for because I don't get a bill for that. Every month I know what the gas is. I know what my rent is. I know what my car payment is. I don't know how much haircuts are going to be. I don't know when the car is going to break down. I had my car broke down over the summer, and I'm another $4,000 in debt because of that, because I had to fix it.
Okay, so Shane, you are here. You've looked over his income and expenses, plus now we have these ones that we're not expecting.
Sure.
Help him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, get me
one
out of this hole.
Yeah. Well, one of the first things I did is I took a look at your cash flow.
Okay.
You know, how much coming in, how much is going out, like you mentioned, and then also the debt. When you look at debt and cash flow, it's kind of like when you go to the doctor and they take your vital signs.
Right.
They check your pulse, they check your temperature, blood pressure, that kind of thing. So the first thing I did is just looked at that to see the health and to see what's going on there.
Am I going to live, doctor?
And yes, you're going to live. Yeah, that's the good news. And the nice thing is that, like you mentioned, bringing the income and struggling to make the ends meet, you're not alone.
Right.
It feels like you're alone when you're thinking, well, everybody else has got this down. Well, not true. There are very few that have this down where they have that much comfort. Most people are bringing the money in and it's going out on haircuts and things like that. It's going back out the door. And so you're normal. That's a good sign. The one thing I did look at it is the cash flow, like you mentioned, Heather, was about right. I mean, there's not a lot of wiggle room in there. If you do have the freelance work, then that does give gives a little more, couple $100 a month variance. And so one of the things that, and I'll get to this in a little bit, some strategy about the freelance stuff. It's tough to keep that on. Yeah.
If I could say on that. So that's one of the tricky things. Yeah, if I can average it out and say I'm going to make an additional 400 over a whole year, I can make 400 more a month with the freelance. But I never know when and where that's going to come. Yeah. Or if.
Yeah, I mean, or if it's coming at all.
Sometimes it doesn't come, and I'll have 2 or 3 months where I don't make anything extra.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a month where I make, 800.
Right. And then that averages out to it. Yeah, and in fact, you hit it right on the head. The biggest struggle for everyone is variability. If it's variable income or variable expense, those are difficult because you can't plan. It's difficult to plan for them.
Right.
So there are a couple of things that you can do when it comes to cash flow to help with that. One is a savings account.
Okay.
Do you have a savings account? I didn't ask you this.
I do. There's nothing in it.
Yeah, right. Again, you're normal.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one to get rolling because a guy like me, financial planners, will say, put 3 to 6 months worth of what you make into an account, and then we all give up because that's too much. That's so much money.
So right there, that's something I hear a lot, and I've talked to a lot of my friends about it, and people are always like, oh, well, just put aside, a month or two's rent, and you can,
and you'll be fine.
Like, I can't even pay this month's rent. How am I going to put aside 2 more months?
Exactly. Right. And so what I recommend that people do is forget about that long-term goal. Well, actually treat that as a long-term goal. Treat that as a lifelong goal, and start out with whatever little bit you can put in there. If that makes sense. If the cash flow works out that it's $5 a month, well, start with 5. If it works out, but get something consistent. And what I recommend that people do, I have to trick myself into saving. I can't. I'm a financial planner and I can't do it. I have to trick myself into doing it. And the way I trick myself is I've set up a savings account, separate, dedicated, outside of all the instruments that I use. I use a local credit union for my banking. I set something up elsewhere. And I have my employer put an automatic amount every paycheck. I have them put a dollar amount into that account, and then I have them put the rest into my checking account because that will go. That will go quickly. Now, I set it up to where there's just one extra step if I need to steal money out of that account. And when I first set up that account, I stole every paycheck. But what happened is I wasn't setting up a savings account. I was setting up a habit. So what happens is your income will go up. I mean, you'll have other gigs, you'll have opportunities at your employer, your income will go up. When it does, you'll start to forget that you were putting that $5 in there. And all of a sudden, you with that habit built up, you'll see an account balance start to go up. And so start the habit now when you can't afford it, if that makes sense. Because once you started the habit, then when you can afford it, a little more affordable, it will build up. I stole from that every paycheck. I stole that money out of there. I liquidated it out and paid the bills with it.
So when you said you set it up with your employer to deposit an automatic amount, did you do an exact dollar amount?
I did.
Or do you do a percentage amount?
You could do either, but your employer will prefer a dollar amount. Yeah. Okay. And I just set up a dollar amount that I thought I could afford. Sometimes I left the money in there. Most of the time I stole it to pay the bills or the emergencies.
Yeah.
But the habit was built. It was always going.
And going back to that, so when I went cash only, which was about 9 years ago, I did the same thing. So I was trying to pay off, I had a car loan and a personal loan out there, and paying off my mortgage, and I was making less than Jason is now, bringing home every month, but I didn't have kids.
Right.
So, but that is basically what I did, is almost every single penny that I had left over, that 32. So let's take your case. You have $32 that you know for sure at the end of every month that you had left over, and let's take out all the haircuts and all the stuff just for this example. I had $32 left over, so I would take 30 of it and pay it toward one of my debts. And in your case, you have one student loan that you just broke it down into monthly payments, but you want to pay off the one that has the lowest balance. Right. So let's say one of your student loans has $1,000 in it. Just apply the extra $30 every month to the one loan. Don't try to spread it out between them all. Just pick the one that has the lowest amount in it, because you're going to pay that off faster.
So if I can interrupt you real quick, I've actually heard kind of differing opinions on this. And one is that I start with the lowest one, and the other is the debt with the greatest interest rate.
Right.
And so which...
I have an answer for that.
I haven't really tackled either because I'm not really sure which one to go with.
Let's ask the financial advisor.
I'll tell you, the answer is not a number answer, it's a behavior answer. Okay. And what I mean by that is I've run the numbers thousands of times, literally thousands of times, because in our office we wanted to solve this debate once and for all. We wanted to find out which is best. And there were, most of the time it was the lowest balance, almost all the time. There were a few times it was highest interest rate. However, if you went with the higher interest rate, it was years before you made any progress. And guess what happened? You weren't motivated. What we've found behaviorally is if someone will pay off the lowest balance, it gets paid off quickly or quicker than anything else. You take that amount you were paying monthly and you apply that to the next highest balance, you get endorphins.
Okay,
You go,
it's like you can see it and you're like, I'm actually doing something.
Yeah.
So
You get that endorphin rush.
Each month,
exactly.
Working out kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And all of a sudden you see people getting excited about paying their bills. It's strange, but
because you see it. First of all, you see it reducing. The one that's the lowest balance on it, you see it reducing really fast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then when it gets paid off, you're like, oh my God, because I did a personal loan that would have taken me 18 months to pay off. I managed to pay off in 4 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I just paid it the rate, even if I had applied money to the higher interest rate one, that still would have taken me at least a year or more.
Yeah. Right.
In 4 months, I'm like, oh my God. And then I had that extra money. But I was going to go back to, so you have $32 a month, 30 of it pay to your lowest balance, but you have $2 left over, put that into that savings account that Shane was talking about. So so tell your employer, okay, I want $2 every month or every paycheck to go into this savings account.
Right.
And then you have $2 there. I also set up my savings account that I have that's separate. It takes 3 to 4 days for any money to act. If I go, I've got to steal from that account, it takes 3 days to get it.
All right.
Like, so she's really punishing herself.
I cannot instantaneously get that money out. It's going to take at least 3 days before the transfer is made.
So would I then maybe from that savings account set up automatic payments on my lowest debt from that?
Yeah, that's a good
idea.
idea.
And then that way I don't have to think about it
at
all.
Yep.
Sure.
It's just automatically getting paid.
Right. Yeah. You're paying that additional amount automatically. That way you don't have to
and if I did that, then I wouldn't even be able to pilfer that money.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. That's great. Yeah. See,
okay. It's a great idea.
All right. Well, we have
just the more I can automate it so I don't have to think about it, because I feel like that's one of my biggest problems is I'm like, okay, I'm going to be financially responsible and I'm going to figure this out. And then the next month rolls around and I completely forget, there was that thing that I had to do.
Yeah, if you set it on...
there was that other bill that I had to do.
If you set it on automatic, you've made the decision once. If you don't set it on automatic, you make the decision thousands of times. And so you're right.
Okay,
setting it automatic
we've got to take our first break. We'll be right back, though, with certified financial advisor Shane Stewart and Jason Jensen, our guinea pig.
Wink, wink.